This was so special for me. First of all, to just have something that reminds me of where I come from, of my country and my culture out there on court, because I feel like that's what makes me special, is where I come from.
I think the day before my final or the night before, and my agent sent me over this kind of PDF, and it was the presentation of this Sampaguita project that Nike had made. I was like 2 nights before my match in Wimbledon, and it was so beautiful. It was like the message behind it was great. I felt that it fit.
Eala just broke the internet. Not with a match-winning shot. Not with a ranking milestone. Not with a dramatic comeback or a stunning upset on a stadium court. She did it from a podcast seat, sitting across from Jessica Pegula, relaxed, smiling, completely at ease, with an announcement that sent Filipino fans into an absolute meltdown and triggered one of the biggest commercial waves Nike has seen in the Southeast Asian market in recent memory. The Sampaguita collection is live. The moment those words left her mouth, everything changed. The uncomfortable truth on the other side, meanwhile, Aryna Sabalenka, the world number one, the two-time Australian Open champion, the most dominant baseline force in women's tennis right now, is sitting with a feeling she is genuinely not accustomed to. Not the feeling of losing a match. Not the feeling of a ranking point slipping away. Something far more uncomfortable than either of those things. The feeling of being passed over. Of watching a brand she has committed years to, a brand she reportedly requested a custom outfit from, a brand that declined, turn around and place a $45 million contract in the hands of a 20-year-old from the Philippines and crown her the face of an entire continent. That is not simply a sting. That is the kind of commercial moment that echoes through the rest of a career. The kind you replay quietly and wonder what you could have done differently. How we actually got here. The full story is considerably more extraordinary than the headline suggests. It began with that podcast appearance alongside Pegula. When two professional tennis players sit down together in that setting, the tennis world pays attention, but nobody walking into that conversation anticipated it was about to trigger a merchandise explosion of genuinely historic proportions. Right there, in the middle of a casual, candid conversation, Eala confirmed it directly. Her brand new Sampaguita collection by Nike was officially going live. And the reaction was immediate, overwhelming, and unlike anything the sportswear industry had seen attached to a women's tennis player at her stage of career. Across the Philippines, stores were flooded almost instantly. Online platforms buckled under simultaneous demand from every direction. Filipino fans who had been watching Eala's rise with fierce pride and bottomless devotion did not wait to be asked twice. They moved fast. They moved with passion. And they moved in numbers that left executives, analysts, and industry observers genuinely stunned, not just by the volume of the response, but by the speed of it. This was not a merchandise launch meeting modest regional expectations. This was something that had been building for months, through the Sampaguita hair tie at Wimbledon, through the In Full Bloom shirt that sold out without a single international advertising campaign, through the headquarters visit in Oregon where Nike made clear exactly how seriously they were treating the story, finally releasing all of that accumulated energy in a single, unstoppable commercial moment. The sold-out notifications arrived in under 60 seconds. And in that same window of time, the tennis world began absorbing the full weight of what Nike had chosen to do, and what it meant for everyone else in the sport still waiting for that level of recognition and finding that it was not coming.
So happy to be there, and I was like wearing my little flower, and then
Here is the rewritten version. The projected sales from the Sampaguita collection alone were reported to land somewhere between $1 million and $5 million within the first week. $1 to $5 million. From a single merchandise drop. From a player who has not yet won a WTA 1000 title. From a player who only cracked the top 30 for the first time in March 2026. That is not a sales figure. That is a phenomenon. What the collection actually is, when you see what Nike built, you understand immediately why the reaction was so powerful. The centerpiece is a white shirt set against a beautiful green background, with the Sampaguita flower sitting right at its heart. Paired with Eala's iconic Sampaguita hairband and white shoes that complete the set, this is not merchandise. It is a cultural statement. A piece of design that carries the weight of national identity, heritage, and belonging, not as decoration but as the entire point. The sampaguita is not simply a pretty flower. It is the national flower of the Philippines. It is home. And Nike did not just design clothing around it, they told a story. And the Filipino people received that story with open arms and, almost simultaneously, open wallets. Eala herself was visibly moved during the podcast. She spoke with genuine emotion about receiving the sampaguita as the inspiration for her collection, describing it as a pride moment for her. That sincerity is the entire secret behind the commercial explosion. When Eala is excited, her fans are excited. When Eala is proud, 100 million Filipinos feel proud alongside her. That connection is not something a marketing team engineers in a boardroom. It is completely organic, completely real, and completely unstoppable. How Nike got here Nike has been building toward this deliberately and methodically. Every major tournament in recent months has come with a personalized, Philippines-themed drop designed to generate momentum right before the on-court action begins. Each release has been bigger than the last. Each drop has confirmed that the appetite from Eala's fan base does not plateau. It grows stronger with every passing tournament. Then, just before Miami, Nike made their biggest statement yet. They opened an entire gallery in Eala's name, a dedicated space celebrating her most iconic moments in tennis. Not a banner, not a social media post, a gallery. That is the level at which Nike is operating when it comes to her. And then the full contract details became clear. $45 million over 3 years. Performance incentives that could push the total considerably higher. A position as the official face of Nike across the entire Southeast Asian market. Custom outfits, global campaigns, and the full superstar treatment, the kind normally reserved for athletes who have spent a decade earning it. Eala is getting it at 20 years old, and she has earned every cent of it through sheer cultural force. Nike moved with conviction partly because they remembered a painful lesson. They were slow when Coco Gauff rose, and New Balance moved decisively and signed her. It was a loss the brand has not forgotten. With New Balance and Adidas reportedly also in pursuit of Eala, Nike was not going to hesitate a second time. They understood the commercial magnitude of the Filipino diaspora behind her, recognized what she represented across Southeast Asia, and acted with total certainty. The Sabalenka contrast. Now, let us return to Sabalenka, because the timeline here is what makes the situation so stark. For years, Sabalenka had been pushing Nike for better treatment. She wanted a unique custom outfit that reflected her status as the world #1. She asked. Nike said no. A multiple Grand Slam champion, the best player on the planet by any objective ranking measure, was told by her own sponsor that a custom design was not something they were prepared to create for her. And then Nike turned around and handed the next generation a $45 million deal, a dedicated gallery, and the face of Southeast Asia title. If that is not a message, nothing is. Sabalenka herself has confirmed that Nike will no longer be creating custom designs for her. Reports suggest she has been reaching out to the brand directly, attempting to salvage what remains of a relationship built over years of titles and top rankings. But the indicators are all pointing in one direction, and that direction is separation. A partnership constructed through years of Grand Slam victories and world #1 standings is quietly dissolving at the exact moment that Eala's partnership with the same brand is reaching its most spectacular, commercially extraordinary peak. The cruel irony is that Sabalenka is still winning. She defended her Miami Open title in 2026. She remains world #1. On the court, nothing has changed for her. But off it, everything has. Because Nike is not simply a sportswear contract. Nike is a signal. Nike tells the world who they believe in, who they are investing toward, who they see as the future of the sport commercially and culturally. And right now that signal is pointing with complete clarity at Alexandra Eala. What Eala has that cannot be replicated, what Eala has built is something that Sabalenka or any other player currently on tour cannot replicate simply by winning more matches or climbing higher in the rankings. Thousands of fans line up for hours just to watch her practice. At the 2026 Australian Open, a first-round match involving a player ranked outside the top 30 generated international headlines and BBC coverage because of the sheer scale of the Filipino fan base that descended on Melbourne Park. The Sampaguita collection sold out before most people had even finished reading the announcement. That is a different kind of power entirely. It is the power that comes from representing something larger than tennis results, from carrying a national identity onto courts that were never designed to hold that much emotional weight, and doing it with a grace and an authenticity that cannot be manufactured. Eala is 20 years old. The titles are coming. The rankings will follow. And when they do, what she has already built commercially and culturally will reshape the economics of women's tennis in ways that go far beyond any individual contract figure. Sabalenka's situation is not simply about one missed opportunity or one uncomfortable conversation with a sponsor. It is about watching the future of the sport arrive faster than anyone anticipated, wearing a white shirt with a green background and a flower that means everything to a nation of over 100 million people. The Sampaguita collection is just the beginning, and everyone else in women's tennis is already playing catch-up.